Welcome everyone. Really excited for this moment. It's been a year of piloting and innovation and learnings. And so what we have here today is a community showcase for the work-based learning pilot. It's part of a grant opportunity through the Illinois State Board of Education. I'm Heather Penzak. I'm the Director of Innovation and Implementation here at Education System Center. We've been really working to provide technical assistance and hosting communities of practice for pilots across the state who are implementing career exploration or career development experiences in their community. So we'd love to know who's here today. So in the chat, your name, title, organization, but would also love to know, we have 6 different communities who are going to share with you today about their work-based learning. And so if there's a particular question top of mind about designing or implementing work-based learning, please feel free to put that in the chat. And, our presenters might be addressing that naturally through their presentation, but they can also take a look at that and maybe call that out either in their presentation or focus on it more in the breakout rooms, which I'll explain here in a moment. But welcome everyone, so good to see you all. Just a couple of requests, always in terms of sound. Please make sure that you're muting your computers and or your phones, wherever you're getting sound from. One note about this showcase is please use the chat all throughout and please put questions in there. We're going to have time for more direct Q&A after all the presentations, but throughout, please feel free to put those in the chat. And if presenters might not, answer them right away, they'll make sure to address those when they move into the breakout rooms. And so here's the plan for today. So the hopeful plan, as we'll be kind of wrapped up with our presentations by about 11. It might be a little bit later than that, but we really are going to spend the second chunk of this really in breakout rooms. So for the first portion, you're going to hear from 6 different communities. They're going to present on their pilot experiences. They're going to speak for about 5 to 10 minutes per community. And they're going to tell you, a general overview of their experience, talk about their lessons learned, challenges overcome. They have a lot of different best practices and links to additional resources to share with you. We are going to be sharing out the recording and the presentation for today. So if you're thinking, I really want to see that link and I want to access that resource and utilize it, we will send all of that out in the follow-up today. So please know that that will happen. But afterwards, what we really want to do is spend time for you all to say, I really want to hear from Vienna High School, right? And you're going to go and you're going to choose their breakout room and you're going to be in a smaller room with just them. They're going to take over that room as the facilitator. And you would have the opportunity then to have more direct kind of small group Q&A with that community. So we're going to support you in that too. Sometimes it can be tricky choosing a breakout room, but we'll get you in there. So that is the plan for today. And just to kind of move us forward here, we'd love to do a welcome. We have Karen on the line. So Karen, would turn it to you for a welcome. And then I know on the next slide too, we also kind of do an overview of the grant.
Thanks, Heather. Good morning, everyone. I am thrilled to see everyone here. I'm super excited to hear about some more of these activities going on. Heather's been more the technical support on the, work-based learning, activity ideas bouncing off. And I've been kind of working more with the grant side, but it's been so exciting to hear about some of the things going on out there. Please continue talking to each other, using resources. Heather's done a great job at updating their site to, keep everything about these activities listed, the resources being shared. And they've got some great other things on the website there too, that kind of all tie in with all this work we're doing. So this grant was created last spring to help kind of identify what are we lacking in work-based learning resources in Illinois. Was there anything, from COVID that we needed to adjust our best practices from, new resources, that maybe, just from the changed landscape. And then, of course, we asked everyone to always question, is there something we need to be doing to provide more equitable access to work-based learning opportunities? And then, of course, the end goal was to get this resource bank developed and share everything statewide at no cost to educators. So, we're looking at different models, new ideas, and different districts have had different needs, based on historically what have they had the resources for. So it's been really exciting to see some districts, doing something that maybe would be very elementary for other districts, where some have really like honed in on a specific program. It's been really cool to see. So we appreciate all the work all of you have been doing. Of course, both of us are here with any questions you have. So I'm not going to tie up any more time. I just want to hear about the good stuff now.
Same. Thank you, Karen. So I'm just going to show these couple of things, and then we're moving right into presentations. But really focused in here on those pieces in red of the work-based learning continuum. So career exploration, which is more towards the beginning, and then career development experience, which is a more intensive experience like an internship. And so, as mentioned, throughout this past school year, we've had communities attending these bi-monthly communities of practice. They share their insights, learning models from implementation, similar to what you're going to see today. We usually had 2 sites there. Today we have 6, which is very fun to do a culminating event here. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these next definitions, but I just want to make sure they were included in this presentation for you today to know, as communities are explaining about their experience, these are the definitions, these kind of minimum thresholds for quality as we're thinking about career exploration, as we're thinking about a career development experience. So these are their guiding principles as they're designing and they're implementing these experiences. And so we have a couple of resources here for you too. Karen mentioned that Pilot Resource Hub. So this is a unique space to the pilot that has the recordings from different previous communities of practices. We have statewide frameworks in there. We also have the list of pilot plans that communities were planning to do for this year, right? And we're collecting different models and templates and updated resources now as they actually did their pilot and what they might have now and how they might have adjusted that. So please access that site and see what's been done. We're going to continue like today, all the resources. Those will be uploaded to this site as well. And then another resource for you is also iWin. So this is a broader kind of work-based learning network here that we guide through Ed Systems. And we host, monthly, bi-monthly communities of practice. And really, again, looking at exploring those innovative models, talking about scaling and sustainability. And to Karen's point too, where are we thinking about equity and building social capital in these experiences and getting access, especially as we think about our Black and Latinx populations. And so I think now, yes, we are done. We did 5 to 7 minutes, presenters, you see that? But so we're gonna move into our pilot community presentations. I got another friendly reminder. I'm becoming like that, my teacher self is coming through who just keeps saying the same thing like 20 different times, but then the students are gonna be like, what are we doing right now? I thought I had a half an hour. So we're gonna move into these. I will show you here, I think the next slide is our order. These are the 6 different communities that you're gonna hear from today. Again, this is going to be the same order of the breakout rooms too. It's going to be flagged in each presentation, which breakout room. We're going to flag it again. But excited for you all to hear from all 6 communities and then be thinking to yourself, which community would you really like to dive in and learn about more? And that would be the breakout room that you choose here after the presentations. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it to our team here from Boone County.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Heather. My name is Nick Budenoff, Director of Career Readiness with the Belvedere School District. And we'll introduce our team here, but just, really just as a background, we were looking at this grant opportunity as a twofold opportunity. We've been working on pathways for the past 5 years or so. And a lot of that work has been really centered around coursework and the development of new courses and aligning courses to post-secondary programs and things of that nature. So really looked at this grant as a way to shift our focus slightly towards work-based learning and the career development experience, and primarily that 60-hour kind of internship experience that Heather alluded to. But also at the same time, we've also formalized a partnership that we have in our community with Growth Dimensions through the 60 by 25 Leadership Community Partnership. And so we saw this grant opportunity as a way to kind of utilize that formalized partnership and in a way that benefits our schools. So I'll turn it over to Kelly.
Hi, I'm Kelly Cooper. I am the Early College Coordinator with Belvedere School District. And now I'll let Pam introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Pamela Lopez Fettis, Executive Director to Growth Dimensions. And as the economic arm for Belvedere and Boone County, our main focus is to attract, retain, and grow businesses in our region.
And then I'll introduce myself. I'm Heather Wick. I am the Business Enterprise Manager for Growth Dimensions. And my role here is to manage the various programs that we have for businesses and economic recovery, growth. And also I run the marketing and communications for the organization.
Thank you. Okay, as Nick mentioned, our focus was on providing internships, and we focused those internships for seniors who are on track to graduate. Something else to mention is that the North Boone School District was also part of this opportunity. When thinking about seniors on track to graduate, we also wanted to look at implementing it in May towards the beginning of June. So right now we are in the interviewing phase. Last week there were 7 interviews and there are more scheduled for this week. We also focused on manufacturing and automotive industries, as we currently have dual credit classes running within manufacturing and automotive at our high schools. And as part of this opportunity, we have been able to partner with 4 different employers. And now I'm going to go ahead and let Pam and Heather talk a little bit about building connections with employers and the workforce challenges.
Sure. So I think really early on, we discovered that the partnership between the school district and Growth Dimensions was going to be essential for the success of this program. At Growth Dimensions, we work with our local businesses and manufacturers day in and day out. And obviously the school district has the access to the students. So it ended up being a very great partnership, I think, between the two. Our role is really to help the district get their foot in the door to the businesses that are really at the forefront of manufacturing and automotive initiatives. So between the school district and Growth Dimensions, I want to say we connected to around 30 businesses, and Kelly can correct me if I'm wrong there. Although not all of them were able to participate for various reasons, we definitely garnered some great connections that both us and the district can come back and use at a later date. And then one of our main objectives at Growth Dimensions is to sustain the economic circle of life in and around Boone County. So our hope is that this internship program becomes a driver in growing our students' skills and also works as a pipeline into our local businesses and economy.
Yeah, but as you know, we've been met with some challenges, and the manufacturing and automotive industry was becoming more automated and transitioning more into electric vehicles. So the access to computer chips, semiconductors, and many other resources that they relied on to do their business became more difficult. So these industries were faced with some workforce challenges where employers had to either require that their current workforce work overtime, or some of them actually had to close their doors for a period of time, and these workers were laid off. And this left very little time for training or guiding an intern. And Kelly, you want to address liability?
Nick, I'll let you address the liability insurance and contracts here.
Yeah, just another, as we were trying to get this up and running, what we identified quickly was there was some things that Kelly and I, who work in education, were unfamiliar with, things like liability insurance and actually paying students and things like that were quickly identified as a challenge. But just as a shout out to something that Heather mentioned earlier, the iWin program, we also participate in and were able to connect with Terry Stroh, who's with EFE 110, I believe, and identified kind of a EFE reimbursement model to figure out a way to utilize these funds to pay students for the internship. So just really appreciated the networking that partnership allowed, and Terry's good insight there. So shout out to him. Go ahead, Kelly.
Right. We also learned, of course, that some of our participating employers and manufacturers have age requirements. So the idea of many employers saying, hey, we need individuals to be 18. And that's what led us to focus on internships for seniors. And other manufacturing employers that said, hey, actually, we require that individuals have a GED or high school diploma in order to work at our organization. So again, those are just some challenges that we ended up facing. Another one was some of our participating employers really wanted us to bring students on tours of their facility to learn about the opportunities, to see if an internship might be a good fit. But our district had a no field trip policy this year. So in order to work around that, initially we had planned to hold all of our interviews at one high school and bring all of our employers together and the students together in one place. But since we weren't able to offer those field trips, we decided to instead host the interviews directly at the employer sites. And then as part of the interview process, students were able to tour facilities. And of course, another challenge is sometimes to get students to see the value and apply to opportunities. And that kind of segues on to our insights of helping employers and students see the value that we can really bring to each other. And as part of that, I want to share just a quick feedback. One of our participating employers interviewed a candidate last Friday, and I received the following email from them. What a neat young man. I actually asked him if this was his first interview. He said that it was his first formal interview. I told him you certainly could not tell, and he did it very well. So easy to talk with. We are very interested in him and told him we'll be in touch with him early next week. He indicated he's very interested in working here, and I believe he could learn a lot here. Thanks so much for sending him to us. And I think a story like that, again, just kind of really focuses on the value of these opportunities of, I know this student wasn't aware of their organization before this grant and internship opportunity arose. And of course, then we were able to connect an employer to a great, qualified student that's, again, they're both very excited about this opportunity. And then I'm going to go ahead and let Heather and Pam share a little bit more about, the employer pipeline.
Even though the employer, when they come to our area, or they're interested in growing in our area or coming to Boone County, they want to know what the current workforce situation is. They also want to look at 5 years from now, are you still going to meet our needs? So they need to identify whether or not the pipeline is abundant and skilled to meet their needs in the future. So I think that's where they want to focus on, not only today, but they're also interested in what tomorrow brings.
Thank you, Pam. And of course, one thing I just wanted to quickly share is that we had with Growth Dimensions weekly meetings every Friday to really evaluate where we were at and connecting with employers, what feedback we were receiving. So I think that was something that was really beneficial towards us or towards the success of this internship program. And also wanted to just talk about best practices. The idea of connecting with employers in person, I think, was really important, and continuing to build that relationship of not just having a phone call, but going in person to connect with them. And also the realization that, maybe offering large scale internships of trying to say, hey, every senior, 50% of seniors are going to get an internship opportunity. That might not necessarily be feasible, but we've kind of come to realize that one student at a time is definitely a win. And of course, just working with employers when it comes to the internship description and creation and curriculum ideas. I do have links, so just want to share the internship flyer is what we utilized to initially connect with employers and try to attract them to start a conversation. And then once we had those meetings, I used that one-page employer handout to talk about the responsibilities between parties. That paid summer internship link is regarding a letter that was sent out to families of seniors and the internship host resources. I just pulled a couple things, and one of the key pieces I used there from the career development toolkit was the suggested tasks and items to review within manufacturing for internships. So just want to note for employers that hadn't hosted an internship previously, that was something really beneficial. And then on to the future steps. I know we're trying to go fast here. But again, I think this grant was a wonderful opportunity for us to open the door to have a conversation to say, hey, we have funding available for paid internships. It's such a great opportunity. And we look forward to continuing to work with participating employers, as well as students and families, to help them understand the value and also dispel some of the current myths that we have within manufacturing.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I know it's like I want to schedule the showcase for 4 hours and just let folks just keep sharing, right? But they will be in breakout room 1. Again, so I see some questions coming through. Again, they'll respond to you in the chat. But I'm going to turn over here to our middle school partners, Heather and Steve, and they're going to talk about one of their career exploration programs. But again, the Boone County internship will be in breakout room 1 here. Thank you all.
Thank you, Heather. Yes, we are Heather Rice and Steve Burden from Tremont Middle School. And this was a pilot for us this year, as it was, we received a pretty hefty grant that Jill and Cindy at Tazewell EFE helped coordinate things for us to use in the welding and healthcare services simulations. So We're going to focus today on our welding simulations, as our healthcare, due to snow days and things like that, didn't form into the career fair that we had hoped. So we will touch on that a little bit later.
We started out working with our welding simulation, and Heather kind of piloted with 8th graders. And then after her 8th graders were done, I worked through with my 7th graders. We have a period in the morning in 7th and 8th grade called advisory. And we do lots of different things in there, but this was a good tie-in to fit. And then the students rotated through our rooms to do that. They worked for about a week doing welding. So they explored the careers that are involved in welding, did a little research on that. And they were able to use our welding simulator, which it's the same type of simulator that they use in welding schools, from what our understanding is. But it was a cool thing. They seemed very interested in it, and the students really enjoyed having that opportunity.
Welding was one of the things that we chose, or was chosen for us, because this was our first year of having a welding option in our works-based learning in the high school. We had several students go through that the first semester, and then into a career as they finish high school in welding to earn some money for college. So it was definitely a good fit, and hopefully will increase the numbers in that program. The picture you have here is a gentleman in our community has a large welding and machine shop that he uses to feed into the many different companies in our local county. And so he came in and spoke to the students about welding, the opportunities that are available, and right now, the money that is available, especially in the area of the trades in our current situation. So you can see there the actual breakdown of the days that we did. We worked on several things the first day to help our students know what the possible skills are to be a successful welder. We talked about, as Steve mentioned, jobs and opportunities, and then working as practicing with the welding simulations.
One of the kind of suggestions we had here is that we'd recommend picking one type of career exploration to start with, and then kind of build your program from there. That ensures that the experience is a little more valuable for the students, and they also get a chance to kind of experience each of them instead of kind of just doing a little bit at a time, or them picking one versus checking them all out. Making sure giving adequate time for the simulation. The kids really enjoyed using the welder. We had some trouble with that for a while, some technical issues. We ended up sending it back, but the people at Reality Works, yes. Mary was great, and they worked with us and got it taken care of and shipped us, repaired one, and we were good to go. But the kids really enjoyed having that opportunity and working through that. And I think that it was valuable for them. And our 7th graders will actually kind of continue with that again next year a little bit more, and doing the other types of welding. So they've kind of had an intro, and then they'll get to do some more advanced work, which is great.
Yes. Really want to encourage people, and I know many of you on here have worked with people in your community. Tremont is a very small community. We have about 150 7th and 8th graders combined. So our classes are about 75 or so, depending on the year. So to provide them with an opportunity like this in our little rural community, we are very strong in the field of agriculture and things. And so they see the necessary skills that they need to have to be successful in those types of careers. You can go ahead and move on. I mentioned earlier that our grant was pretty hefty. It provided us with many simulating activities. Steve and I were very overwhelmed at the beginning. I know Jill and Cindy came the day that Mary came down from Minnesota, Mary from Reality Works, and helped train us on all of our simulation activities that we have. We just didn't really feel like we had the manpower to do it successfully. So we had scheduled a health career fair to bring in, again, professionals from within our community, as well as within our school district itself, to help with the health services aspect in February, when we had a major snowstorm and didn't have school for 3 days. So we're looking at maybe now looking for a 2-year process, like Steve mentioned, having the 7th graders build on what they learn from 7th grade into more of advanced and expert welders, and continue the novice simulation at the 7th grade level. We also have a health services, health sciences, work-based learning for a CNA program. So I think our students would definitely find that one beneficial as well.
So next year, our 7th graders will continue with building from that novice welding into working on more towards the expert level. The simulator has a variety of levels they can try. And then there are different welding tips. So they just used stick welding this year, so they'll be able to move into the MIG welding as well. Our health science fair, the plan is to kind of have breakout simulations so that the students can experience multiple things. In order to do that, we're going to bring in some community members and volunteers, and we're also going to have to work with some of our other teachers to have them trained so they can then work with the kids as well.
By no means are we experts in this. We received word in August that we were going to be starting this. So we do think it was definitely a positive experience for our students. They do enjoy it. When we were mentioning that we were presenting today, they're like, that was so fun. You know, we would love to give them more time. It just wasn't built into our schedule at the beginning of the year. So we are continuing to look at ways to incorporate what we received from this grant.
And we both teach math full time. So, and that was a new subject for me this year as well. So on top of adding these things in, like, this is not what our actual job description is. So it was something that was added to our plate, which we took on, and I'm glad we did, but it's, again, just another thing we've got to try to figure out how we're going to incorporate through what we're already doing.
So thank you very much for letting us present and share our experiences.
Thank you both. And yeah, you know, a wild ride sometimes teaching and learning about things kind of in August, but kudos to you all for the work you did to provide this opportunity for students. And Heather and Steve will be in breakout room 2. So kind of keep that in mind if you'd like to learn more from them. And I think there's some questions in the chat too, if Heather and Steve want to answer any of those. I know Karen's been answering, but I'm going to turn now here, kind of a bit of a shift, but Amanda and Cassie from the Valleys region, they're going to talk about an internship micro-credential for partners. And this is something that could be accessible to communities across the state to use as a resource. So I'll turn it to you all.
Thank you so much, Heather. It's so great to be here. I'm Amanda Bastoni. I'm from CAST. CAST is the organization that created and developed Universal Design for Learning. For this conversation, I just want everyone to know I'm a former CTE teacher myself and CTE director. Cassie, you probably don't need to introduce yourself, but it would be great if you did. And also maybe, Cassie, you could just frame us with the question, why did we go down this route?
Hi, everyone. Cassie Blickham, Valley Education for Employment System Director, EFE 130, up in Kane, Kendall, and DeKalb counties. And we went this route because we were hearing from our business and industry partners that they were excited to host work-based learning, but that they often didn't quite know where to get started, that they weren't educators, that they didn't spend a lot of time with teenagers. And so this is a tool that we'll be rolling out. You all are kind of seeing you're like our big splash, our first splash, and we'll be rolling it out to our business partner in the coming months to support them as they develop work-based learning.
Terrific. Thank you so much. So what we did is we created a free online module, and you can all access it at the end of this presentation. I'm going to share those links, but I know Heather will also share those out. The goal was to really make sure businesses could effectively design internships for all learners. So we did take that UDL approach, making sure that they could consider designing for learners, all our special populations and our non-trad learners. You do get a badge if you would like at the end. So we're going to give all of you free access to that badge to try it out, and it's associated with the Badger system. The modules could take anywhere from 1 to 1.5 hours or up to 4 hours if you were to do all the activities. At the end of that module, you're guided through creating 3 key documents: internship job description, orientation plan, and org chart. Submissions are reviewed locally. We'll go to this on another slide, but just remember, you could pull components of this module to use within your own systems for free. And if you didn't want to earn that credential, you don't have to. So you can access the module, it's there for you for free. And if your business partners don't want to earn that credential, no problem, all these materials are here. There is a $35 cost. We'll talk about that in a minute, but you're going to have free access. And this is one way to help screen businesses. So a lot of businesses will come to you and say, I'm very interested in being part of an internship, but maybe they aren't able to follow through with that next step. So this is a way to sort of do a little bit of screening. I would ask who's ever driving these slides, we built it into our presentation to show the first minute of this video. So part of this grant did cover creating 2 key videos. And this is the top 10 tips on having a high school intern. All of you will enjoy this video, I think, and you can share it with your business partners or your anyone else you think might enjoy it. So if it's possible to show the first minute of this video, I'd love to.
Okay, so how can we make sure that our internships are great experiences for both employers and interns? I think the most important thing we can do is to try to plan for the barriers that interns often encounter when they show up for work. In education, we call this concept universal design for learning. Basically, we want to make sure that we consider the wide range of learners that are out there and that we've put enough thought into the learning environment to make it work for everyone. So to that end, we've compiled our top 10 tips for taking on the high school intern. The more you think about these before your intern arrives, the better. So let's go. Tip number 10. Remember, they are teenagers. They don't have the life skills and professional knowledge that adults have. Seriously, their brains are not fully developed. People's brains don't fully develop till they're about 25 years old.
You know, we try to take a lighthearted approach, but make sure that we are getting key information. This video is available on YouTube. You can share it with anyone. So let's just go back to the slides really quick, and I'll just share our, sort of advice or guidance, what we learned, and then we will pass it on to the next team member. So remember, innovations is that this is an asynchronous solution. Any industry partner or business partner can, engage with or without your assistance. However, we did brainstorm that we are excited that potentially people will use this as a group. You'll get a group of businesses together and you could guide them through this module, right? So you could lead the way. And it really contextualizes this high school experience. And really, Cassie, maybe you want to talk to this briefly about why that was important from your perspective.
We have heard from our business partners that they're not educators, and that all of this doesn't always come naturally to them. That's one thing. The other thing that we sometimes hear, I just heard it a couple of weeks ago from a business partner that has 4 high school interns in a manufacturing environment. It's expectation setting, like the presenter said in the top 10 tips. Teenagers are teenagers, they're not adults with work experience. And so this module also helps business partners understand that they're providing what is likely a student's first work experience. And that's going to come with, little bumps along the road. And this is a tool to help them plan for those bumps so that students can learn and the business partners can have a good experience with a young person.
Awesome. We can go to the next slide. Just to be cognizant of time. So what we would recommend is potentially hosting a large training for all your local businesses. Schedule an hour to an hour and a half, go through the module, answer questions, share resources with them. Then they'll complete those 3 key documents. If they would like to, they could submit for a badge, but they definitely do not have to submit for a badge, right? Now that they've had that training, they're all ready to go. They feel more prepared as well. This is what I thought was very interesting. Cassie and I were sort of brainstorming. What would happen if you offered to cover the cost of that badge for them? Come to this training for an hour to an hour and a half. We'll cover that $35 for the badge for you. And now your business is officially badged and you've had this sort of free training. So really giving back to your employers and your industry partners instead of kind of feeling like we're always asking something of them. And just remember, you can use all the components of this. So we've linked to the iWin toolkit that Heather shared earlier. We've linked to a ton of resources and videos that you will have access to through the module. And again, just to reiterate, the module is free. We can just go to our last slide if you want to. Okay, so we'd love to see people use this module. So please go try it out. And there is a promo code and you can get your own badge for free. So you'll see that promo code UDL _ intern. When you put that in, you will be awarded, the cost for taking that badge or completing that credential will be covered for you. So I think, Cassie, join us in breakout room 3 and we can talk about more of the details, but I think, Cassie, that might be it. And I think we're on time, Heather, so.
You are under time. You get the gold star for today. Just kidding. No, appreciate you all so much. And yes, too, this recording, all the links with resources, we'll make sure this is available shortly afterwards. I'll get it out today, potentially, right? I'll coordinate with Sarah here on our team and get a note out to all the registrants and other folks too. But really love this opportunity. Yeah, presentation badge. I like that. But love this opportunity. I know Cassie and I have talked about before a lot, like that handoff, right? Like the person who's recruiting the business partner, like when is that right moment to hand them off to the school, right? To then engage in that experience. And this really helps kind of make that handoff clear, right? If they have the job description, all those pieces, they're a bit more ready to go to engage directly with the school and start bringing in students. But again, they'll be in breakout room 3. But with that, we're actually going to turn here to North Grand High School.
Thanks, Heather. Hello, everybody. My name is Sam Bernstein. I'm at Chicago Public Schools, and I support our 12 early college STEM and STEAM high schools, which combine early college, CTE, STEM and STEAM enrichment, as well as STEM and STEAM instruction to prepare students, especially our young girls and students of color, for careers and post-secondary success in STEM and STEAM fields. We were able to use this grant this year to pilot a variety of work-based learning experiences at 5 of our 12 high schools, including North Grand. And I want to take today to highlight what's been happening in North Grand. So I'm going to pass it off to my colleague, Ivy, to tell you all about it.
Cool. Hello, everybody. So my name is Ivy Abid. I'm the STEAM program manager at North Grand High School. So I work in the building directly with students. And we used our CDE grant to run a variety of programs. We actually have 3 programs at North Grand that are making use of the CDE funds. But I'm going to just focus on 2 of them. And our programs have a variety of goals, but really one thing that we wanted to focus on was our CTE students at North Grand. We have a healthcare, engineering, and culinary program, and they already have a lot of opportunities for internships. They have very well-established partnerships that work with the teachers. But the rest of the student body, the other 70% of the student body, doesn't have those same opportunities. And so we wanted to develop something that would be aimed at non-CTE students. And we also wanted to develop things that would be aimed at young students and be built more towards exploration and skill building, because what we're finding is that we have students who get to senior year and then they apply for internships, but they don't necessarily have the technological skills necessary to go through whatever the application process is. So we were kind of going for, like, we want to do something young, aimed at our younger students, our freshmen and our sophomores. We want to do something skill building, and we want to do something that's kind of engaging and is going to keep them coming back and hook them. So we have 2 programs I'm going to talk about. The first one is Code Nation. Code Nation is a program we do with an external partner. The name of the partner is Code Nation. So basically the way Code Nation works is that volunteers from a partner at a tech company, we work with Groupon, but also Grubhub, Google, Facebook, all work with Code Nation. A group of volunteers comes to our class. Our program is remote, so they join a Google Meet and we work with them remotely. But they come to our class and they instruct the students on CSS, HTML, jQuery, and JavaScript, which are all the languages that you need to make a fully interactive website. Like at the same quality that all the websites we use today. The first year, it's a 2-year program. So the first year of the program, the students are basically just skill building. So they do a series of 7 projects where they practice each of these languages. They actually make like a portfolio website that shows off them. Most of them don't have a lot of stuff to put on there yet, but they fill it up with their hobbies and their fun stuff. And they also get to do field trips. We're going to Strata Decision Technology on Thursday, and the students will participate in a coding challenge with some tech mentors there. And then the great thing about Code Nation is that the following year, once the students have developed the skills in their first year, the students get to actually go downtown once a week and actually work at their tech partner. So we're going to have about 20 students next year who actually travel downtown Chicago once a week from like 3 to 5 p.m. and carry out an internship next year in technology, working on the actual websites for the partner. So that's Code Nation, and that's been going great. I'm excited to continue it next year. And then the other program I want to talk about is our Makerspace internship. So North Grand has just been developed as designated as a STEAM school. We're actually in year 1 of our development. And we have this beautiful Makerspace that finished construction. And one thing that was just immediately clear is that me and my colleague, as 2 people serving a school of 1,100 students, cannot possibly train all of the teachers and all of the students on all of the different equipment that we have in this Makerspace. We have at least 37 different technologies that we support in this Makerspace, which are breakable and which require a little bit of expert knowledge to use. So we created our Makerspace internship program. So we selected 25 primarily freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, but we'd really tried to get a lot of freshmen involved to do this program, where basically the way the program is structured is they spend a little time each week learning a technology via a project to an expert level. So they made a 3D printed keychain, they made laser cut coasters, they made t-shirts using a vinyl cutter. And all of this is done using the Adobe software so that it will be possible for them to get certifications in after another year or so of experience. We do use a badging system. We also use Badger, and I'll talk about that in a second. But the goal of that is to develop these student experts while they're young, get them really bought into the Makerspace and make sure that they feel like the Makerspace is something they own and that they have responsibility to. And then our goal is to start kind of using them more and more to help educate our entire community. So for example, on Wednesday, we're actually having our first Maker Parent Night. So we're going to invite parents from all over the school to come into the Makerspace, and the students are going to lead a series of demonstrations. They're going to teach the parents how to make a 3D printed keychain, and they're also going to teach them how to make a sticker. Next slide. So some insights and innovations from these programs, and primarily from the Makerspace program, since that's the one that we developed from whole cloth. One thing that we did was that we really wanted the interview process to mirror the real world. So we had 90 students apply for the internship for only 25 positions. So we did a performance task where the students were given a robot, and we observed how they worked in groups as they were trying to figure out how to program the robot. And then we did a panel interview where the students were asked a series of questions about like their attitudes around collaboration, their attitudes around leadership, what do they consider leadership, that kind of thing. One huge lesson that is exhausting, but I really challenge people to do it. It is so worth the time to make your program bilingual. We had about 7 students apply who have recently come to the country and are really just developing their English skills. And we decided to just make the program 100% bilingual, even though I am only proficient in Spanish and my colleague does not speak Spanish. And they help us out. They help us with the translating. We use Google Translate. We use our resources to make all our slides bilingual, to make all our resources bilingual. They're going around and translating all the signs in the Makerspace for us so that all our signage is bilingual. And it's just already paying off because most of our parents speak Spanish and we cannot assist at the level that we need to. And so it's very important that we have the students who feel empowered to help and educate our parents at things like our parent night where our students come. And then the last thing is like student pay is incredibly complicated, and there's a lot of rules, both CPS specific and nationwide, and tax laws and things like that. And so we have a vendor who helps us with that, and finding that partner was super important. Some best practices. In general, I know that in most internship programs, it's difficult to make things project-based, but having clear, accountable products has really helped us track the students' level of expertise and make sure that the students are focused in getting their projects done. Making sure that those projects are things where they can inject some personality has been really helpful. And then the other thing is that, I think it's really important to communicate what it is. So we were very clear during the interview that the purpose of this internship was not just to play in the Makerspace, but to develop your skills so that you could be a leader in the school in the future. And the students have started taking that really seriously. When we were like, it's time to host parent night, they were like, okay, I want to do digital embroidery. So that was really cool. I put a bunch of slides on, I put a bunch of resources on this slide. So I included the deck for our Makerspace program if people want to see a little bit about how that works. We've also created bilingual one-pagers for how to use Adobe Illustrator, how to use Adobe Premiere, how to make the green screen in Adobe Premiere work. And so those are available to share. Be aware those haven't actually been vetted by a native speaker. My my proficiency is just proficient. So I would, if you were going to implement those, I would have a native speaker look at them. I also included our student interview questions as well as the scorecard and rubric from our student interview process. And then one thing I will say is recruitment is really important. We did recruitment just by email, and when we did that, we got about 70% of our applications were girls, which is not appropriate. We need to make sure that we are offering programs that target boys and girls, and email disproportionately gets responses from girls. And so one thing I wanted to do, I still want to hold everyone accountable to the application process. You still have to apply online. You still have to fill out a Google Sheet to sign up for your interview slot. But for the boys, after I saw that we were not getting enough male applicants, I hand delivered invitations to some boys saying like, hey, your teacher thinks you're a really good fit for this program. Go to this website and fill out the application. So that way they're still accountable to the process. They have to go through that, but they also have this extra pull bringing them in. Next slide. Cool. So just a little quick thing. We created a badging system. I shared it with you guys if you are interested. So that folder, there's a Google folder linked here. It has all the images for our badges. We do a 4-level badging system. So level 1 means you tried it. It doesn't give you anything. It just is like I tried this. Level 2 means you can come into the makerspace during your lunch period when we have open shop, but you have to get us to approve your design. Level 3 means you can use the machine and technology independently. And level 4 means we trust you to teach this and we trust you to assign level 1 badges. So that's a cool thing that like the students actually get a little power over the badging system as they badge up and develop their experience. Some lessons learned. Oh, this is a great event. We haven't had our parent night yet, but we did have a Spanish language makerspace career day, which was really great. We got a lot of Spanish native Spanish speaking engineers and psychotherapists and people in STEAM careers to come into our school. We had a fully Spanish language career day, and our Spanish speaking interns actually led some of the maker projects. So there was both a digital embroidery demonstration and a button making session, which was led by the students. And it was just a really great setup for a career day because it was sort of a networking session as they were doing the maker projects. They were having informal conversations with the volunteers, and that's where they were developing social capital, exchanging contact information. It was fantastic. Some things that I want to do to improve this going forward. You get so much more bang for your buck if you make sure that teachers and students around the school know about the expertise that's been developed. So we're going to create a bulletin board that's like, who's got a level 3 badge? So that students will start asking each other for help. They've already become a huge help in their classes. Whenever someone's doing a project in the makerspace, I can just be like, oh, Jonathan's an expert. He's going to demonstrate this part. And that's really useful. But I do think we'll start to see people coming up with more of those opportunities if we make this really public. The other thing I would say is that the community events and the education aspect of this, we need to build that into the schedule. We didn't build it into the schedule this time. And it's really hard, you know, when students are committing 5 hours a week to this internship. And then we also ask them, and now we've got this parent meeting from 5 to 6 p.m. Can you stay? That's a little hard because they got to eat dinner. So one thing I would think that I want to do for next season is I want to actually make planning community events a part of this program. And then the other thing is that right now our program is not representative of our population. We were able to get to basically a representative group of males, females, and gender non-binary students, but we are not representative right now by race. And this is something that is, I feel, a very strong responsibility to correct. We need to make sure that we are reaching out to our Black students in ways that feel inviting and that it feels like a home. And so that's a huge goal for next year and a major focus for us. So next steps, okay, we're gonna be in breakout room 4, awesome. So next steps, this summer, we are rerunning the Makership program, the Makerspace internship program. So we're gonna have 25 brand new babies, freshmen and sophomores, and then we're gonna have 5 of our students, because that's all we could afford, 5 of our students come back and be TAs. And so the expectation will be you get 1 day a week for your personal projects, but then you have to help the other time. So that way they still get, they want to use the makerspace tools, they want to build stuff. So we want to make sure that we still reward this expertise they've developed. And then next fall, we're doing the same thing. We're running our makerspace program again with newbies and our TAs. And then also some of our students at our school have 8th period free. They get early release, and those students are going to come back and help us with inventory, logistics, maintenance, and safety. Our Code Nation students will be traveling downtown for their tech internships. We're also going to rerun the program with freshmen. But one thing that we have a huge need for is a transportation solution. Our school is not by a train stop, and it takes about an hour to get downtown by bus, which means they really only have an hour before the business day ends. And that's if they don't eat. So we really need to figure something out where we can get our students downtown into their internships in an efficient manner.
Thank you all so much. And again, breakout room 4. I kind of want to like come here to make a sticker. I want to learn how to do this, but really love just this whole holistic view, right? And how the students are being engaged to help drive things, the community's coming in, right? I know we talk a lot about that with, business partners, making sure they're aware of what's happening in opportunities, but families so much need to be engaged because they are such a huge influence for their young people as they're making decisions. So thank you all. And again, to hear more from Ivy and Sam, they'll be in breakout room 4. And with that, going to turn over here to Lamont, who's going to talk about an opportunity that they're doing with Educator Rising. You can also think about this as a statewide kind of inspiration for you all. I know there's a lot of folks utilizing that within their education pathway. So I turn it to you here, Lamont.
Okay, thank you so much, Heather, and hello to everyone today. I'm very pleased to be a part of this, and will talk specifically about what we're doing here at Crete-Monee High School to get students acclimated to education as a possibility for their next steps. The motivation for this particular project, number one, we're very cognizant of the fact that there's a statewide, and not only a statewide problem, but a nationwide problem with attracting individuals to fill the need that we will have moving forward with teachers for these dynamic seeds that we have coming through. So what we did, we embraced the fact that our state was the first state to recognize Educator Rising as an authorized CTSO. So we wanted to find a way that we could marry what Practera brings to the table. Just to give you some backdrop, I attended a training on virtual work-based learning hosted by Heather Penzak and another individual. And through this experience, they introduced us to a platform that would allow us to bring work-based learning to students in a virtual format. And based upon what I discovered in that training and the information that Educator Rising had to offer, I'm like, wow, this is dynamic. The Educator Rising has all of this on paper, but is there possibly an opportunity where we can digitalize the information that Educator Rising has to give our students a more robust experience so that when they have to grapple with one day EdTPA or something similar, how can they digitally chronicle their experience in education? So with that being said, I decided to reach out to Heather, who got me in contact with individuals at Practera who wanted the material that I had from Educator Rising, and through a lot of back and forth, we finally came up with a method where we could present the same material to students with all of the videos and what have you, but also combine in that a back and forth with experts from industry so that they could get feedback, which will aid them in presenting stellar projects as they sought to earn the 5 micro credentials that were offered. Our targeted students included special populations because initially when I came to Crete, they indicated that there was no interest in the field of education, but me being the person that I am said, let me talk to the students who matter and see if there's really no interest. The short of it is we put it out there that we had this new organization and 37 students signed up to become future teachers. And I would have you to know that they have been recruiting other individuals and getting them to come to meetings. And those individuals are still a part of the organization to this day. It has been a year-long experience, but the intensive work that we did with Practera started in January of this year. And when I say the intensive work, we wanted to put what we thought was best before the students to allow them to give us feedback on what would work better to capture their attention, and they gave us feedback. And I've been going back and forth with Practera to the point that we think now we have a solution that not only encapsulates what we want to do as adults, but something that would attract students to the platform. We've created a badging system to help boost their motivation to continue along. It's not an official badging system, but it's official for us because students are going around the building talking about all of the badges that they're earning in Educator Rising. The big intent of this project was to present education as a career in a different light, because we feel that the information that's out there, because it's been tampered with, all of the talk about striking and all of this, let's really talk about the real things that's going on. So we have introduced students to the whole range of careers that's available in education. We've had visitors that have come into our meetings from central office, the CFO, the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, talking about how they started at the bottom and worked their way to the place that they've earned right now. And students are, you could just see the glare in their eyes. They didn't know all of this. We decided to put a couple of pictures on the slide so you would see that it's not just Lamont behind it. We do have real people that are involved in this. Next slide. So some insight. Basically, and I think I've already covered this, we wanted to digitalize, but best practice I think that I must be upfront with is that with a program of this type of undertaking, you must start early and you have to get the individual who's coordinating, because I'm an administrator, so I have a teacher who's actually coordinating the effort. You have to get them on board so that they can be consistent in asking students to participate in the review process, because after a while it feels like I've earned the role of a dentist, because it's like pulling teeth. Did you go in there and look at this today? So one thing, if I was to do it over, I would have the teacher coordinator involved from the beginning. The other thing, to ensure that it's a valuable experience for students, let's not sit around the table as adults and make decisions. Be sure to include the students at the outset. Talk to them, because I think a lot of times we get into our own locked rooms making decisions for students. We need to ask them what's missing, what more would they like to see and know. The other thing I think it's very important that we keep constant and consistent dialogue with the partners, not only Practera, but those individuals that you will have as the experts. As a matter of fact, I've had Practera build out even a training for those experts that's digital, even though they come from colleges of ed as deans. They have to get on board with what we're looking for to make sure that we're giving our high school students what they need for the level of development that they're at the present moment. Some of the shining spots, we've already secured a university partner who's going to do our dual credit beginning in the fall, Lewis University, who, kudos to us. They've also started an Educator Rising chapter because they found out about ours. So I think that's a straight win. And they want to work very closely with us so that the collegiate chapter and the high school chapter can do some projects together. So we're very excited about that. The resources will be available this upcoming month. We're finalizing our student recruitment packet. We're gonna upload a copy of what the agreement would look like between your district and Practera. We will be sharing the expert learner agreement, and then also just a plethora of training material that can be used with students, expert learners, and with the system administrators. The final, next slide. Our lessons learned. Well, I've already covered that, so I'm not gonna continue to beat that horse, but involve people from the outset. What we have done as of late, we wanted to start with a small cohort of 3 students looking at it. We've decided to put 27 individuals in there right away because we can benefit from more feedback since we didn't get that at the outset. So now we're on fast forward because we want to make sure that we have this platform up and running for the next school year. We don't have any room for failure. Last slide. So I'm very excited to say that CREET has become a leader because should we receive the education pathway grant, the new round, all 4 of the districts that are part of the EFE that I oversee will have an education pathway. And we're not selfish here at CREET. All of them will have Lewis University as a partner with the exception of Rich, who has gone out there big time and got Loyola University to partner with them. So we're very excited for Rich. I'm going to take credit for that too, because I'm the EFE. But we're excited about doing something that will be a big help to our profession. My motto is, if we're not excited about our profession, who's going to be excited? And this is one way. We receive very little money from the state, but I feel that that little money afforded us the opportunity to do big things because exposure is everything. And I'm going to end there, Heather. I hope I'm within the time frame. I look forward to seeing some of you in breakout room 5 if you want to learn more about what we're doing here at CREET. Thank you. Thank you, Karen, for being an advocate at ISBE. And thank you, Heather, for always reaching out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lamont. You do incredible work just engaging students in a thoughtful way in that recruitment. It's one of my favorite stories where it's like, I don't think we have anyone interested in education. All right, let me go check that out. Oh, look at this. We have a whole crew, right? And we're going to get their feedback and we're going to keep making it better. So appreciate all the work that you do. And with that here, we're going to turn to Vienna High School with Kathy and Josh. And how does 11:10 sound for you all? And then we'll kind of wrap and move into our breakout rooms.
Sounds good. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kathy Anderson, Dean of Instruction here at Vienna High School.
Joshua Stafford, I serve school superintendent in Vienna, and I do whatever Kathy tells me to do every day. So quickly, because I know that we want to get to these breakout rooms, our presentation today is basically titled an initiative that we started that's just simply called Because High School Should Be About More. And really trying to build capacity through partnerships and collaboration to expand career experiences. It's been great to be a part of ISBE's pilot grant here in this particular work. Sarah, if you don't care to go ahead and play the brief video that we have.
Because high school should be about more.
We are career connected and life ready.
We are striving in our business program.
We are compassionate in our social work classes.
We envision and compose in our art and music program.
We are caring in our health occupations program.
We are creating in our industrial arts program.
We are building in our Illinois Laborers Construction Craft program.
We are fabricating in our auto body program.
We are growing the future in our agriculture program.
We are soaring to new heights in aviation.
We are seeking justice in our public safety and law enforcement program.
We are teaching in our education program.
We are writing and producing in our communications and publications programs.
Because high school should be about more.
Thanks so much, Sarah, for playing that video. We'll jump to the next slide here. And of course, the theme of our presentation is because high school should be about more, and kind of those we are statements, right? We are doing these things. So just a little bit of context about who we are locally or regionally. It's Vienna. I know everybody's going to say Vienna, but if you're on the call today, you'll learn a little bit of Illinois pronunciation of Vienna. We cover parts of three community college districts, parts of 4 counties, over 300 square miles. We offer over 125 dual credit college credit hours on our high school master's schedule. We have 5 ISBE approved career college pathway endorsements that Kathy's going to list here in a second. 12 plus career pathway programs that you got little snippets about in our video there, 1,200 students, K-12 in our system, numerous partnerships and endless career experiences. So kind of our primary point today is really to talk about those career experiences, and Kathy's going to speak. If you'll go back just one slide, Sarah, Kathy's going to speak to the CCPE endorsement areas that we have approval through the state board on.
Currently, we have 4 programs that are approved by the state board. They are the CNA program, teacher education, social work, and the construction craft preparation program. The one we're waiting approval for is our ag business management program. And through these 5 programs, we have projected 30% of our seniors will have earned their endorsement when they graduate this year.
So yeah, that's class of 2022 coming up here in May, and we're excited about that progress. So again, kind of just a quick context of who we are. We can jump to that next slide, Sarah, if you don't care. Our career experiences. And so a lot of times people say, well, you know, how do you do these things? Where do you start out? What does that look like? And I feel like our presentation here today is a little bit more broad in an overview, if you will. But how can you get to more, right? Because high school should be about more. How can you get to more? And really 3 things that we feel like that we've collaborated on with a lot of different partners. One is that post-secondary and career expectations framework. Illinois Student Assistance Commission, along with the Illinois State Board of Education, have done a nice job of putting that together. And we've got a link there in our slide that you can take a look at that PACE framework if it's not something that you're familiar with. We'd love to talk to you more about that in our breakout session. Kind of step 2 of how do we get more, right, is that college and career pathway endorsement work that Kathy was just talking about that ISBE has going on. And then step 3, Dual Credit Quality Act and Model Partnership Agreement. Those are 3 really important elements of how do we get to more. And so Kathy's going to speak just briefly to the 1 and 2 there on that list.
Okay, on number 1, the PACE framework, if you go to that website, you'll see lots of examples of various school districts and their PACE framework that they have there, as well as a template that you can use to put in your own things and create your own PACE framework. And regarding the CCPE, number 2, when you go to that website, there's a lot of information and criteria that you can use as you're going through and creating these endorsements for your students.
And so kind of locally, and again, in the breakout session, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but you see a link to our local website to where it's our customized career framework that's available there. And so there's a lot of experiences built within that framework, from mock job interviews to job shadowing experiences to internships to a lot of those different things. A primary component of all of the college and career pathway endorsements is that they have hands-on experience and dual credit classes. So again, more career experiences built into all of our career college pathway endorsement work. And then each unique pathway also has unique career experiences. So just kind of career experiences are built into all of these things. Sarah, if you don't care to jump to the next slide. Lessons learned, Heather kind of asked us to speak to that briefly here. Lots of lessons have been learned over the last, good grief, 15 plus years of working through these things. One thing that I would speak to is just backwards design. Start with the end in mind. What's our end goal here? And in our context, our end goal is that our students have a meaningful career pathway, that they have been connected with some meaningful career opportunities. If we were to start over again, Kathy and I were recently talking about that, like what would that look like and feel like? You know, one of the places that we started was really transferable dual credit. So again, we offer over 125 hours of dual credit on our high school master schedule, which that's exciting. But if we were to start this journey over again, kind of knowing what we know now, we would dive deeply into that PACE framework and then jump to those career college pathway endorsements, I think. So know the current law. Because of the work of a lot of people around the state, statutory law is really helpful, believe it or not, to career work, the career work that we're all doing. Dual credit partnership or dual credit quality act is helpful. Model partnership agreement is helpful. Even in this last legislative session, the PACE framework is something that we're going to see getting rolled out in schools all around the state as a result of the last legislative session. And then build partnerships now.
There's a lot of different ways to do that with the community colleges, with our business partners, with our local high schools, which is something that we've tried to do through this grant, is to collaborate with some of our local high schools and learn from them as well.
Yeah. And, you know, we're a small rural school district, right? Downstate Illinois. We have to have everybody at the table to make this work and make friends now, build those partnerships now. And so we'd be glad to speak to that more also as well. And your community, I think our community, at least, they have bought into this. They've been very supportive of this work. And so that's a lesson learned that's been really encouraging. And we'll jump to that last slide, Sarah, if you don't care. Work in progress. We're expanding that career framework into our 6th through 8th grade world. And so that's an active work that's going on, exploration of other success planning models beyond just the PACE framework, some social emotional SEL pieces that we're looking to integrate there. Data tracking systems, we are beating our head against that piece. Right now we're using Google for career portfolios and spreadsheets to track all of it. And so we're exploring some other options that are out there. Parent engagement as a result of kind of the data tracking systems and how do we better engage parents are some things that are works in progress for us in various other areas. I know we're coming quickly to the end of our time slot here, but Kathy's email address is there on the side. Mine is as well. And certainly please feel free to reach out to us if we can help in any way. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you all, Josh and Kathy. And again, this is a great opportunity to learn more in Breakout Room 6, especially as you're thinking about where do you get started with work-based learning? How do you implement it and make it a whole part of your system and experience for students and not just an add-on, right? So this is an incredible community to talk to, especially as they've grappled with it in their rural region and kind of thinking about all the different school, business, community partners. So what I'm going to do here in a moment is open up the breakout rooms. And so encourage you all to start thinking here, maybe which one you would like to join. You'll click on that breakout room. I'm going to hang back in the main room to help anyone who can't seem to join a room. Lamont, I'm going to be your facilitator, but I know you got it until I get there. So I'll just be helping folks with those breakout rooms. But there's going to be, you know, an End Systems team member or an ISBE staff member in each of your breakout rooms too to help facilitate and answer questions. But it's just kind of an open-ended space to ask those weedy questions and dive in more on these incredible opportunities and models that were shared here today. You should be able to, if you see on the bottom bar of your Zoom, I haven't opened them yet, but there is a kind of a breakout rooms button. And if you're in a community and you wanted to actually ask one question of another breakout room, you could feel free to move in between, but I know we've got about 15 minutes here. So I had a note to return to the main room. I'm actually going to not do that. I just want to protect the space for you all to ask questions and learn more from these communities. So, at 11:30, as you wrap up those breakout rooms, please feel free to leave the Zoom and I will have a feedback form. We'd love to gather your thoughts on today and how you might be incorporating things or other resources that you would like to share. And I'm very much going to be sending this as soon as possible. I've gotten lots of requests for the recording and presentation. So, awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. But our contact for myself and Karen are there as well. And I just thank you all again so much for joining today. Hope you learned a lot. It sounded very much like many folks did. I was getting all kinds of little private direct messages that people had to leave and they didn't want to leave. So a big thank you again to our presenters. And I've got these rooms open now. Presenters, please make sure to join the room you presented on, and other folks, take a moment and think through what you'd like to hear more from, and have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone. Thank you again so much for joining.